We are going to be using the render filters, and those filters will apply clouds, textures. That's where the lighting effects are. So what we're going to do is convert to a smart object, and we will be applying several of these filters. What I want you to do is apply all of them, because these are actually filters that I think, especially if you get into photography work, that you may find quite useful. So we're going to go to Filter, Render, and Clouds. Now you can see I forgot to select, so I'm going to undo that. And we're going to select the background. Now you can select the girl. And after we select the girl, we can give a command so that it gives us the inverse, which would be the background. And let me switch here. Usually I zoom in pretty good so I can see everything a little bit better. Actually, on this one, it is kind of important that you do a good job selecting, especially when we're doing clouds. Not going to look very good if we haven't done a good job. All right, so I'm going to go to select an inverse. I don't want to rasterize my smart object. Okay. So at this point, my background should be selected. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Filter, Render, and Clouds. Now I can see some of the background through this, and you'll notice that we got that thumbnail. So I can actually click on the thumbnail and paint in black or white and kind of fix up my selection after the fact. Whoops. And I'm guessing some of you are probably going to have to do this too. Because the clouds, whoops. Clouds is one where you actually do want it to look pretty good. That looks a little bit rough to me, even though I am at 300%. Hit the edge here. Just smooth that out. Whoops, too much. Now it's not going to look quite as rough when we are down at 100%. So let me go back down. Okay, that looks much better. I'm gonna go back up to my layer and click on it. And we just did clouds. Now there is a way to intensify the clouds. It's tricky. What you have to do is you have to press Alt at the same time you click. So if you can do it at the same time, you can see how much more dramatic the clouds are. And what it's doing is it's pulling the foreground and the background color. So you can pretty much have clouds of any color. But this was pressing Alt, and that was when I didn't press Alt. So you can see how much more dramatic that is. And let's see. We're going to go into render again, and we're going to do difference clouds. Oh, if it tries to rasterize yours, we do not want it to do that. Okay. Here we go. Hopefully it won't do that to yours. I ended up having to open up history because it went and rasterized mine, and then I backed out of it. It should not do that. You can get difference without rasterizing. If it rasterizes, you lose your smart filters and everything. So don't let it do that. Now I'm going to turn off difference. And I'm going to go and do a fiber. And again, it's pulling your colors. You can adjust the variance and the strength, but this is what it's going to look like in the background. And we are going to do a lens flare. Now there's several different ones. And you see that little plus sign? That is where the flare originates. I'm actually going to put it back here in the light area. And you can see you can adjust the brightness. And just so you can see what these different ones look like, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you can see you've got the flare coming across here. I'm going to double click. I could actually move that to a different location if I wanted, or I can change it, which I'm going to do so you can see what this 35mm prime looks like. Okay, so that was prime. And then we'll get into 105mm prime. And again, remember, you can do the brightness. And we've got movie prime. This is actually going to have lines going across. You see how we've got some light lines. Now, I tend to like that very first one. So it gives us kind of that little sunspot. So that's the one I'm going to use. And we are going to go back in. And we're going to go into lighting effects. Now, I should tell you that all of the render filters and the distort ones work primarily in memory. So if you have a lot of things running, you might find them a little glitchy to use, or if you don't have a lot of memory. And this little feature was totally redone in the newer versions of Photoshop. You know, if you're not familiar with it, you may want to try the presets. And you certainly don't have to stick with the presets. Like this one, I can change the color. I don't really want a blue light. I can change the intensity. I can change the exposure level. The intensity can be changed here, or it can be changed over here. You can move this around. You'll notice it's an infinite light, but you can change the kind of light you're dealing with. And these little circles let you adjust the lighting a little bit, the size, the direction. If you want to move it, you can just drag the center point here. And what I kind of like is where the edges are a little darker. Okay, but you can totally adjust color, the size of the hot spot. In this case, that's the inner circle. The exposure. You can give it more of a glossy look or less glossy, more of a metallic. And you'll notice this one has two lights. I could actually turn one off, although I do kind of like the two. But you'll notice that you have a point light, which is one. You've got the spotlight, or you've got the infinite light. And I tend to like the spot or the point. Those are usually what I pick. And then it's just a matter of manipulating the size. And the location of the light, modifying intensity, size of your hotspot, you know, all until you get something that you like. And sometimes when you are messing around with this, you would think it looks pretty good while you're in here. And then you get back to your image and you're like, oh no, I don't like this at all. Remember, if it's a smart object, you can just double click and go right back in here. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And see, I think that's too harsh on the edges. So I would actually double click and go back in here and change it. So I have a little bit more subtle effect. And then click OK. Still don't know if I like that harsh line, but you guys are getting the idea behind how this works. So what I want you to do is figure out what combination you like. And turn on the layers. And then you're going to save your changes.